Hey, this is Perla Sofia Curbelo Santiago. This is a special episode recorded entirely in English. Our regular podcast opening and ending will remain in Spanish. Thank you for listening. Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Perla Sofía Curbelo Santiago de Agrochic.com y te doy la bienvenida nuevamente a La Verdura de Hoy, mi podcast sobre cómo la jardinería y la naturaleza pueden transformar de manera rápida y positiva nuestra salud y bienestar general. Soy autora y comunicadora profesional. En cada episodio te presentaré personas que, como tú y yo, viven fascinadas con el mundo de las plantas. Conoceremos detalles sobre sus proyectos personales y profesionales. Y por supuesto, estaré compartiendo contigo recetas de siembra, productos y accesorios que ya he probado en mi patio y jardín y que estoy segura podrán abonar a tu felicidad y satisfacción, tanto en la casa, la comunidad o lugar de trabajo. Presta atención a la verdura de hoy. In today's episode, I talked with Richard Smith, director of the School of Professional Horticulture at the New York Botanical Garden. Richard's journey into horticulture is anything but ordinary, starting in finance, juggling gardening gigs on Craigslist while completing his Master Gardener program and eventually earning a degree in environmental horticulture at the University of Florida. We met a couple of years ago through the BIPOC Horticulture Group, a premier organization giving voice to underrepresented groups in horticulture. In this episode, Richard shares the school's mission and his ambitious goals to amplify diversity and broaden the reach of its programs. We also explore his insights on plants, gardens, and the best time to visit the New York Botanical Garden. Most importantly, we dive into how gardening can be more than just a hobby. It can be a profound tool for relaxation and mental health. Stay tuned for a conversation filled with inspiration, expertise, and a lot of verdura. Hey, Richard, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited to have you on the podcast. What are the plants or trees that have been on your radar lately?
Well, I'm coming to New York from Florida, so I've been excited about tropical plants, for a long time. Back home in Florida, I was growing papaya, I was growing pineapples, I was just acerola, just cherry. You have one, I remember.
Yes.
But now being in New York, the landscape is so different. I've been taking a lot of time to learn the natives of the northeastern US because you realize when you're in an urban setting, you don't get to see the natives as much. So I'm glad for that. I'm glad to be able to recognize the natives now. So that's what I'm kind of all about natives for right now.
Somehow you were able to bring some plants from that Floridian experience to your now new home in New York, or trying to see them grow, at least, maybe like in a little space.
Yeah.
Have you tried?
I have my house plants that I from back home. My collection has dwindled down a little bit since the move. When you move, you got to give things away. So I've given away a lot of my plants. One of the favorite plants I had was a jaboticaba. It fruits on the bark. That's a very familiar plant for me. But I wasn't able to bring it with me, so I had to leave it home with my good friend Hector. So he has it; is taking good care of it. But
Is in good hands. In good hands.
right, exactly. No, but a lot of the plants I brought with me. I've gotten from other people, so they're kind of a collection of plants from just various people. So that's what I have. It's nothing specific. It's just I'm a plant person. People want to give me plants, and I take them.
Yeah,
So.
This is a very interesting thing to, people move from one state to another, and sometimes you forget about you are moving to a new climate, and botanical gardens are a great place when you are in a new city, in a new state, to check your botanical garden. And not only you're gonna be getting to know new people, but at the same, you get acquaintance with the plantings, the native, and it's like the best place to start rooting. So I
Right. It's a go.
so I guess that's a great way to start, exploring your new home. And sometimes you can be like surprised that in certain collections, you see plants that remind you back home, and you can see, okay, how they are taking care of that. So but we're gonna be talking a little bit more about botanical gardens here in a bit with you. But could you share an experience in contact with nature? It could be something unique that happened to you, or maybe a recurring experience that has made you reconsider your perspective of well-being.
That is a very good question. And because when you think about well-being, that's the piece that changes everything for me. So, there are activities that I would have done just to do them because that's what is needed. But when I'm thinking about well-being, sometimes an activity that can be monotonous, repetitive, can be very relaxing and enlightening. And so, an activity in gardening that I would say is related to my well-being would be just weeding.
Yes.
Um, right?
Yes, me too.
You can slowly take your time. You can really connect with the plants. You can learn to ID what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been just finding myself in weeding, and it's a repetitive thing, and you don't really think, and you're just able to clear out some of the troubles that you had. And it's a rewarding task too. You reach down, you pull the weed, you can hear the snap or the roots come up.
It's like popping the wrap paper,
Right.
something like that. And especially, and one of the things that I say, because I hear a lot of people who say, oh, I hate weeding, and I'm like, I would hate it too if I see myself doing it, you know during the summer, right,
Right.
in a very sunny spot.
Yes.
Of course I wouldn't like it. But if you choose the weeding time, definitely it's gonna be rewarding. And of course, after a heavy rain, right now it's raining here in Puerto Rico,
Mhm.
so it is a great timing to start weeding certain areas. And of course, going into the experience, knowing that you're gonna pull out the weed, but eventually it's gonna grow. So don't focus when that weed is gonna come back. Focus on the next area. And I always see it like, oh, I have these patches that I have to weed constantly, during the year, but it's part of my therapeutic journey, use my garden as a well-being tool. So weeding is winning
Yeah,
here.
weeding is winning. We're gonna put that on t-shirts. And I came to weeding because I'm working on building a meadow in my backyard, and I'm trying to do it without pesticides. I'm trying to do it, just get down and clear the plants out naturally. And I'm taking my time. That's the other thing. I'm not in a rush, so I have some benefit there. So yeah, there's just that act of editing, weeding, and changing the way the landscape is, from what it was, it's satisfying.
Why did you become interested in environmental horticulture?
It's a long story. But,
Make sure a little bit shorter here.
well, I've always been interested in plants. I grew up small town, Belgrade, Florida. Was born there, and sugarcane, rice fields, winter vegetables, all over the place. Right, very familiar with sugarcane. So I just had plants in my life all the time, but I never thought about having a career in plants, right? Working with plants. So when I would start out looking for trying to make a career for myself, I went into finance. I did electrical engineering, and finally got to the point when 2008 the economy took a hit and went down. I was in finance, and economic downfall. People in finance kind of find themselves looking for something else to do. So that was an opportunity for me to kind of, what, Rich, go pursue your passions. Go find out what you can do in horticulture. So I became a master gardener. And at the same time as a master gardener, I was going on Craigslist and I would do gardening jobs for folks. So I would also, as a master gardener, learning those skills and then applying those skills right away. So that was great. That was a great opportunity. I worked with a couple of homeowners, a couple of acres. So that was fun. So that's kind of how I started getting into horticulture. And I found out about an opportunity to go back to school to the University of Florida through the Master Garden program. And that's how I got into studying environmental horticulture with nursery management and greenhouse and nursery management. That was impactful for me because I got to do research on hop production. I got to do research on just a number of things. It just opened so many doors about what avenues I could go into. But I knew that I either wanted to do research horticulture or I wanted to do education. And through research, I became a biological scientist. That was a great thing to do, connecting and doing research. And then I had the opportunity to teach at a high school. And I took that opportunity. It's exactly how you thought it would go. Right? It was fun.
Exciting.
It was exciting. It was exciting. And it was great because these are people who have, for some reason, may have taken this class, may have signed up for the class, and may have had somebody sign them up for the class. And I had to get everyone's interest into what we're doing, into plants, you know. And I think I did a really good job because students were growing plants for the first time. They were seeing from seed to harvest for the first time. That was just a really great experience. And I also got to take them on field trips. So I would take them to Lou Gardens in Orlando. So that was the first field trip we got to go on. On top of that, this happened during the pandemic. So there's a lot of changes that had to occur. But the field trip was the very first one, once we were able to come back, that they got to go on. So it was really exciting, really wonderful experience for me to see the students learn and still see where they go. In fact, I know I'm going kind of long, but in fact, I've had a few students that went on from high school to go into college to study horticulture. So that tells me like I did a good job. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. That you were a great influencer, and nowadays you are a director of the School of Professional Horticulture in the New York Botanical Garden, a place that I love. But certainly, you are influencing, students, people, and I'm very curious about the mission of the school, and of course, who is applying nowadays for the school. But because it's not just people or kids that are going from high school to a career in horticulture. You have people, as you were, that are changing. They want something new, and they're seeing horticulture as a great way to be outdoors, to be in contact with nature, learning new and exciting things. That's one of the things that I love about being a garden communicators, because you keep learning so much, reading about plants, going into field trips with other plant lover, things like that. So tell me about the school.
The New York Botanical Gardens School of Professional Horticulture is a over 90-year-old institution. It started in 1932 as a way for returning war vets to kind of be integrated back into society. And so it was helpful for us in that way. Started by T.H. Everett. He's a very foundational character here at the garden. Not only did he find the SOFT program, School of Professional Horticulture, he also founded a rendition of the children's education program. He built the rock garden, just a number of things that he did to kind of establish us are just so much appreciated by me. I enjoy what the school has been and what it will become. But the school mission is to educate and train motivated individuals in a supportive environment to become horticulturists of the highest caliber. And we equip those individuals to succeed in the green industry leadership positions in both the public and private sectors. And so students would come to the program, or people who apply to the program are looking for the program to open up doors for them in horticulture. So in a sense, sometimes they may be new to the field and they're looking to, step foot in, or they've been in another part of horticulture. Maybe they were in agriculture, Maybe they were working with the maintenance company, but not so much with the ornamental piece of horticulture, that piece. And so they're looking to build their own skill set as well. Students come from a number of backgrounds. So we're a Title IV school. We also accept students from around the world. So students have just numerous backgrounds, and they all come through one way where they're just trying to find a place in horticulture. So art is another one thing. Visual art is a background that students have. Communications is another one. We've had students who just have a GED up until a PhD, ages from 18 all the way up to in the 60s. So it ranges who we get. So it's not like we get one set of person. My goal here as well has been to increase the diversity of the program too, increase the outreach, broaden the impact of the program. So that's been helpful in us connecting with the larger groups of people.
Knowing that the New York Botanical Garden is in the Bronx, and the Bronx has a lot of Puerto Ricans over there, and of course, Spanish speakers. Is there a connection besides the natural connection that the gardens have, but a connection or something particular between the school and the community that makes you part? It is part of that recruiting program that, okay, let's bring more people from the community to consider studying horticulture, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have at the New York Botanical Garden, we have part of our strategic plan is to be Bronx forward. So having a larger outreach in the community. And we've been doing a great job with that. There's volunteer opportunities that we have where we go out into the community. So what I've done with our students to give them that access, which they hadn't, to be honest, yes, they hadn't had it really before. And I find that very to make that connection important, for growth of the program, for respect of the community, and to give, opportunities for people to know that we exist that may not have known that we exist before. So we've had the students work with the Bronx Green Up, and they go out to housing authorities and housing groups and build community gardens with those folks. So that I've been having the students help them. So on large scale projects where they need, 10 pair of additional hands, my students would come and help, build beds, clean up places, things like that. So just as giving back and helping the community move forward with whatever projects they're doing. So that's one thing. Other thing is myself is I go out and I'll participate in maybe graduations or community support. I've done judging science fair projects in high schools. I did that. I worked with community gardens when they have their graduation for recognizing their members. I've been there. So I try to be a face for the program in places where we hadn't technically been before.
That's amazing. And how about nowadays that, summer has been so warm and it's gonna keep going up, the high temperatures, things like that. So definitely one of the groups that are in high risk are those who work outside, no matter the age. So how the high temperature and the recurring heat wave affect the horticultural work, and of course the teaching experiences of students here in the professional school?
That's a good point because in horticulture, part of it, you do work outside. You will work outside. So when we're bringing students in, we make sure that they're aware of the physical nature of the job, of the kind of work you'll be doing. You'll be lifting up heavy things, moving pots, getting dirty. And this could be indoors or outdoors. But in the summer, it could be testing both indoors and outdoors. If you're working in a greenhouse, temperatures can get really high, 110, 120 degrees, And if you're working outdoors, it can be just as brutal. But the goal, I think, for me in horticulture is what I give to my students is some education around protecting yourself, being safe in those types of environments. So staying hydrated, covering your body, things of that nature. We actually have one of the volunteers here. She's a medical doctor, and she holds a course for us on horticulture and health. And so we also understand the impact on the body that nature has, but also what can we feed ourselves? What kind of food should we be eating to make sure that we have a long career in horticulture? What type of movements should we have to do? Stretching, things of that nature. So we try to prepare them in that way. But the way things happen with the temperatures rising, the global increase in temperatures, the work in horticulture, it's kind of like one of those double-edged swords. It's very much needed. We need people to do their work, but because of the temperature, some people may not consider it. It's very difficult and hard work. But the temperatures in the city are going higher. You have more water use on plants, and the impact on people is devastating. So there's work, there's pushes to go around, initiatives to plant more trees in the city to increase cover in areas. So that's happening, and trying to protect the people in the city. But for horticulture, yeah, the work, it doesn't stop. You're always going to have situations like that. It could be too hot, and it also could be cold.
Yes, of course, you have that too. Do you see changing schedules over time, especially in summer, to avoid the warmer hours? Just like sometimes you have to do it when there is snow, but now going in later hours of the day or very early.
And yes, we do that. So our horticulture department is very, much keeping an eye on not only our students, but also the staff. And just the experience of working outdoors, that you get more of your work done in the morning. The heavier work, maybe you shouldn't do it in the heat of the sun in the afternoon.
Do not weed.
Right, exactly. So that's what they've been doing. They've been doing a really good job of, because it's about education. You don't want to overburden yourself.
And that goes not only for people who are working professionally in horticulture, but people who are gardeners as well, and in their patio and gardens. Do you have other suggestions for people who are custodians? Because I see myself as not the owner of the garden, but a custodian, because I know that I am not only gardening for me and my family, but I garden for the wildlife. I'm gardening for, the birds, because I get to enjoy them, see them build their nest, fight to each other, things like that. But do you have more suggestions for us?
I think, like, for the folks, if you're either on a patio, public garden, I mean, especially if you're in your own home, that could be a beautiful experience where you're not only learning the plants that are there and their benefits to the ecology that's happening, but also, the birds, the bees, the squirrels, the chipmunks, whatever is there, in Florida, it might be lizards, right? Iguanas now,
Iguanas.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because in Florida, if it's not just the iguanas, are crocodile things bigger than
Right, they
life.
are. They're huge, and when it's cold, they fall out of trees and hurt people. Yeah, but I think just enjoying the environments, going out into the environment, and not rushing through the environment. Like I'm getting older, and when I was younger, I'm all about speed, 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 go, go, go. And now I realize if slow work is better. Slow down is better. And that's what I've been learning. So just go out and touch a plant and smell the flower, look at a bee, take pictures. It is perfectly fine.
Scan nature.
Yeah, love it. It's a wonderful thing to have and enjoy, especially because of so much talent is required to maintain these places. And that's a lot of people may not realize that the skill and talent required for us to have, a public garden, a botanical garden, even your own plants at home. It takes talent and care for them to grow.
Yeah, and it can be overwhelming, even if you have a small garden, just to see that you want to get done with it at once, it can be a very overwhelming feeling. So one of the things that I have a small garden, but sometimes it looks bigger. And one of the things that I did was to divide it into little garden rooms. And one of the things that I said to myself is that once I finish this garden room, I'm going to go for the next one, because you're never done. Even when you think that you are done with an area, when you go back, 3, 4 garden rooms back,
Right.
you have to start over, or maybe a rain or hurricane, something can change everything. So one of the things that has helped me deal with that overwhelming feeling is that, hey, let's focus in this area, or focus on the area that you are going to be using the most in your garden, and start from there. And it's a great place to dream about things that you want to do in the garden in the near future. So let's talk about botanical garden, and of course the New York Botanical Garden. I went this summer. It is the kind of place that I can be at least 4 hours without hesitation. And I always said to the people around me, this is the period of time that I'm gonna be here, so we can meet later on, or you can join me. But definitely it's a place. Botanical gardens are a great place, as we were talking earlier, to get to know the native, get to know people, be educated, but also it's a place to rest, that you go and enjoy. So when is the best time that you will say it's great to visit the New York Botanical Garden?
That is a very tough question. It's like asking, what's your favorite plant?
I know. So that's what, because I'm going to use this to plan my next visit. That's why I'm asking too.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if you like me. I've never truly seen a northern spring. I've seen spring in Florida, and it's not really like remarkable, right? It's nice, temperatures change, things of that nature. But in New York, here at the Botanical Garden, that was my first, like couple last year was my first real spring here. Just blew my mind. Daffodils coming up. It's just everything. It's just bright yellows and whites and just so many colors. And trees are coming back. You can feel the life that's coming in.
The true definition of spring.
Right, exactly. So that is what spring is. That was quite an experience for me. So that's one thing that I always look forward to is spring in New York. So, and because it's not just here at New York Botanical Garden, so I'll get to go to other gardens and see how they do spring, or just, yeah, that is a very great time for me.
And of course, if you're going from Puerto Rico to the Botanical Garden early spring, please remember that it's going to still be cold.
Yes.
That is something someone from the Caribbean have to have.
That's a good point.
In their mind. It's going to be colorful, beautiful, but you are getting into, 70 degrees probably.
Oh, yeah, if we're lucky.
Maybe. For me, 70 degrees is cold.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get to the 50s, 60s, around there. But yeah, I'm from Florida, so I still have that, that thin jacket. I thought a jacket would be enough. It's not. Don't come up here with a jacket. Have a coat.
One of the things that I like about the garden is that you can see the change of the season. And of course, spring is beautiful. Summer, it's beautiful too. But again, depending in which time of the summer you go, because if you go July, August, it's gonna be very hot. But at the same time, you will think, oh, I'm gonna see something from spring, and no, you're gonna have another experience. And of course, the fall season, that you can experience the deciduous trees, the falling of the leaves, things like that, that probably someone like me here in the Caribbean are not used to. Yes, we do have our fall, but it's not the same. It's not the movie like scenery that we're used to.
It is very beautiful. Yeah. Fall is one of my favorite times too. At the garden, spring is great, colorful, just beautiful, just a wonderful, vibrant experience. Summer, we have the exhibition happens. So that's always a curious time to know what's happened right now. We have Wonderland Curious Nature, like a theme playing.
Amazing.
Yeah, you saw it, right?
I love it.
And then the fall is another one for me. It's just the temperatures drop back down, because you're right. June, July, August, it can get really hot. September is cooling down. October, the leaves are everything is just beautiful change again. It's just wonderful to go through those experiences, because like I said, I've grown up in a tropical environment. You don't see that stuff. You don't really appreciate it. You see it on TV and, you read about it, but then when you experience it for yourself, yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
What I always love coming back from the experience of visiting a botanical garden is that I appreciate even better my own garden, and of course I'm looking forward to try new things, combinations, combos that I was like, oh, I never thought I could see certain plants that are from the tropics, but combined in this annual gardening project. So it gave me that excitement of that plant that there were classic. Right now, I'm into the coleus. We call it here vergüenza, but the coleus is an amazing herbaceous plant that I love, and I just posted on my website like 15 gardening projects that I have done for my own garden, but also for workshops, things like that, of the possibilities. It's not just having the coleus or one coleus. It's like you can have so many. And it's because I've seen how the plant is worked on in a botanical garden, particularly because you want to keep people, interested. You don't know where people are coming from, so you want to excite them, and excite all their senses. That's the feeling that I always have when that excitement when I came back from a visit of a botanical garden. Okay, what new project, professional or personal, are you working on, and what aspect of it excites you more? It gives you, yeah, I'm doing this right now. So,
I was kind of wondering if I would share it or not, but I decided that I would. I've been working on this book, working on a book,
oh,
and
hmm,
yeah, and my focus for it is describing the ecological principles and leadership. How do we take those principles of ecology and how are they applied in our leadership? How are we connecting with people, building a network? How are we bringing in diversity? To make us resilient. Things of that nature. So I've been working on that for a little while, and that's pretty much the thing that's kind of taking all my focus and all my energy. Is every time I'm having an experience, it's like, oh, I'm relating it to the book in those terms, and how could I best approach it using the principles that I'm working on. So it's kind of weird to tell you now. Just like, oh, should I say anything? Just,
are you working in that project by yourself, or you're working with someone in the industry?
by myself right now, by
Okay,
myself.
I know
Yes,
people.
yes.
I know people.
Okay. I know you know people. So that's
I know
good.
people who works on the book industry, so that may be interested. So let's talk about this particularly. But it's great. It is definitely something that it keeps you excited. Because the research, I'm like the kind of person that love not only read, but like discovering something or doing the research and see how you can apply it immediately, share it immediately. So yeah, I totally get it. So that's great. What about myth or fallacies regarding studying horticulture? Do you have something that you want to clarify to people who are like,
I got a list. I got a long list.
okay, give me at least two things.
So the one thing that comes to mind is about horticulture and money, right? People do assume that horticulture is not a well-paying career, right? But I think every industry has different levels, and you can find yourself at any level. But horticulture, you can build a life in studying plants, working with plants, writing about plants, taking pictures of plants. You could build a life here. And so that's amazing. That's one thing I want to take away is, because that's what my hesitation was coming into here. It's like, can I do that? You can. And that's a lot of hesitation that many people express to me too when they're applying to the program. Like, I just didn't know, or I didn't realize. You can make a life in horticulture working with plants, and the benefits of that are just amazing. Work life balance, the stress, things of that nature. you really get mental health benefits from being in this environment. And the people are great. The second thing is that, education. People will assume just because it's a plant that you don't really need a lot of education to, be a producer of a plant. When I work with as a biological scientist, I'm working in production research with, thousands of plants at once. So that takes some skill and talent and practice to be able to do that. Or even plants in a landscape, you have all these different combinations, like you're talking about, tropicals, temperates, they're all combined, different soil requirements, water requirements. These are things you have to know, or even the ecological benefits, what animals are feeding or using this plant for a home or shelter. Those are things that you'll have to learn and study. You can get a lot in there on your own, but in the professional field, you have to have some type of education. And I think a lot of people, they may realize like, oh, I do need to have some more education in here. So then there's respect for the field. And I can see it. So those are my two things, money and education.
Very important things. And, and that translates, especially when people presume people who are not in the horticulture business, but are needing the services or need a workshop. And they assume that, oh, it's going to be, something cheap in terms of let's do this workshop and plant this and transplant. There's, like you are explaining, you get to ask questions to the person who are in need. What are your objective with this
Right.
workshop? What do you want to do? What do you want the plant to be in your life? So you can make a better assessment as a professional and give the best advice. It's not only just the pretty plant or how you're gonna keep that plant living, things like that. So yeah, and I think that is something that frustrates a lot of people who are in the horticultural business. It's not just getting the education, it's and educate people regarding the topic of horticulture, but also educating people about this has value, and you have to wear both hats, educational, but also educating people in terms of this has a value and I'm going to charge for it.
Right. And I think people are, well, where I am right now, Northeast has been populated, for a very long time. So the landscape has just totally changed from what it used to be, the natural native landscape, right? And it is good to have the opportunity to go out and educate people so that they can kind of relieve themselves from the idea of having to mow your lawn every Sunday or blow leaves every day. You can't even enjoy the day because you hear leaf blowers all the time up here,
Oh my
right? So,
gosh.
but it's getting people to change their mindset, change their approaches, change their own culture in their relationship with their garden, with plants, and that can be a challenge. It's a big cultural mindset shift that is needed. Because I see horticulture, I see people in horticulture as being very underrated, but extremely valuable people. It's unfortunate that, we may be at a point where we're losing so much biodiversity in our native landscapes that the only biodiversity, like, I used to hear this all the time, you only see it in zoos and botanical gardens, right? That's a challenge, and we need to make sure that we're educating and reaching out to people and getting them engaged in this industry.
Agree. Are you ready for some flash questions?
I'll try my best.
Which book would you prefer to read under a tree?
Oh, that's another one. That's another one of those. What's your favorite plant questions?
You can tell me maybe the genre instead
Okay.
of the title.
Um, I enjoy nonfiction books. In fact, one book I'm reading, "The Fire Next Time" by James Baldwin. I'm reading that right now, and I'm going through that one. That's a great book. I enjoy his writing style, so I could see myself reading, sitting down, and enjoying that. And it's like a call to action as well too when you're reading it. So yeah, that might be a book I'll have.
You are on your way to the highest point of a mountain. What songs are part of your playlist if you are listening to music?
Okay. Definitely, I would say, I'm a hip hop fan. I love hip hop. Right now, you have Kendrick Lamar is very popular, and I've been listening to Kendrick for a long time. But it's great to hear, his music now and that whole thing. But yeah, I probably would have something like that, something motivating. Maybe I'll have some Nipsey Hustle. The marathon continues. So maybe I'll do that with something that's motivating and focusing and energetic. That's my approach.
Mention one public or private garden that you would like to visit or revisit and why.
Okay, well, that's another one. That's another hard one. The benefit I get.
Are you going to be in trouble?
No, I won't. I'll be okay. I love the New York Botanical Garden first. The benefit I get in this position is that I get to go visit botanical gardens all over the Northeast for now. And then I seemingly have an open invitation to botanical gardens, elsewhere too. So I guess the one I'm going to visit this week is Longwood Gardens. I've never been to Longwood. I don't know what to expect. I hear so much about it. So I'm like, okay, let me see what it is, what it's about. So that's one I'm going to visit this week. So I haven't been, and I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Oh my God, I'm excited to see your photos from that. But definitely, it is in my bucket list of botanical gardens, definitely. What would be your verdura today? Verdura meaning, the greenery that you eat, something that you eat that you enjoy. But also verdura, I like to define it as an experience, a green experience or
Yeah.
experience.
Well, I would say my verdura would be my life. It is green. It's been green, and I'm glad for it. I'm glad I came into horticulture. I'm glad I made that choice, that leap. I'm meeting great people. I haven't been disappointed with that decision yet. I think my life is what I would consider my green. So yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate it.
That's amazing, Richard. Thank you so much for being in on La Verdura de Hoy and sharing your experience and, of course, getting us excited about being in contact with nature. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I truly enjoyed this conversation with Richard. His journey is a wonderful reminder that finding your passion isn't always a straight path. It's often an adventure full of unexpected turns. He also highlighted the value of slowing down in the garden, taking our time, and savoring each moment, a lesson we can all carry beyond the garden gates. If you're considering a new direction, whether it's a career change or simply expanding your knowledge to better care for our environment, horticulture, as Richard so vividly put it, is a path you will never regret exploring. Thank you for listening to this special episode of La Verdura de Hoy. La Verdura de Hoy es producida por mí, Perla Sofía Curbelo Santiago, para Zurda Media Enterprises. Edición y mezcla, Norielis Ramos. Espero me acompañes en un próximo episodio. Mientras, comenta, suscríbete y comparte La Verdura de Hoy.